All right, everybody should have a pen out when you're grading this. Remember, no pencils allowed on your desk. This entire formative is going to be only out of 23 points. So it's not out of very many points. Um, so that's why I said you have to get a 100% to test out. So make sure you're grading it accurately and honestly, as we've done for the entire year. So number one here, it says what is the median of the set of data. Now you guys know median, and you should be writing what I'm writing, remember. The median is your middle number. Okay, write that just as a little reminder that that's what median is. And then before you can actually find the middle of anything, you have to first put them least to greatest. So, some people are like looking, they're like, okay, smallest, biggest, then they have two in the middle, and then they find the answer that way. That's incorrect. You have to put them least to greatest before you do anything else. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I know 14 is the smallest, then 15, 18, and then 20, and then 27, and then 32. And then we always do that little check, just count how many numbers we have here to make sure that it matches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Now we're going to cross off the smallest, the largest. The smallest, the largest. Now remember, you can't do that and then say, oh, yep, 20 is my median. So if anybody had C, you can see right here that that's not the true middle. Okay? We have 3 numbers crossed off here. We only have 2 here. That's uneven. So you can't have that. Okay? So, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Oh, shoot. So we had this crossed off, this crossed off, this crossed off, this crossed off. Now in this case we have 2 numbers in the middle. So we know that we have to draw a line in between. Now in elementary school you were taught to simply say, well, what's directly in between 18 and 20? And you guys would know that that answer is 19. But you got to remember, it's not always going to be that easy to tell now that you're a little bit older. Okay, so remember, what you really do is you're going to add both numbers on the inside, 18 plus 20. That's going to give you 38. And then you're going to divide by 2. You're really just finding the mean of the 2 numbers on the inside, which is where we get 19. Okay, so you letter B there was your answer. Okay, let's go to number 2. The dot plot shows the number of dollar bills some people had in their pockets. Determine the range of the data and describe what the range means. Now, you got to understand that they went to random people and they said, how many bills do you have? Or I guess it says number of dollar bills. So how many dollar bills do you have? There were 2 people that said they had 2 $2 bills. There were 2 people that said they had 3. Okay. There were 3 people that said they had $4 bills. There were 5 people that said they had $5 bills. There were 4 people that said 6. Okay. Nobody had exactly 7 bills or dollar bills. Here we had 8 and 8 was twice, and then 10 and 10 and 10. Now I know a lot of you are probably sitting there going, do we need to do this? Did we have to do this to get it right? No, you didn't have to do this. But I always like to show you this because then I think you guys get confused on what this is telling you exactly. And when you list it out, you say, okay, this is the amount of people that were surveyed are right here, and this is how many dollars each of them had in their pocket. So there were 5 individuals that had $5 bills in their pocket. So we know that range, and you may want to write this, we've been doing it all year long, but the range is going to be your maximum, otherwise known as your upper extreme, minus your minimum, also known as your lower extreme. So you're going to take the biggest number and the smallest number, and then you're going to subtract them, and that's where we're going to get 8. Now, really, there's only one that had 8, so you knew that was the answer, but the explanation kind of goes along with it. The person with the most number of dollars had $8 more than the person with the least number of dollar bills. So that one really probably shouldn't have been multiple choice like that, or I should have had 2 with $8 and done a different meaning, I guess. But regardless, this is going to be your answer there. Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay, this was the absolute most missed question. Now, part of the reason it was the most missed question is because I taught it to you wrong. When I first did it on the video, I did it correctly. And then when we were in class and I was talking about it, you guys were doing them on, I think, Prodigy or whatever, you guys were getting them wrong. You're like, what the heck's going on? And I was like, yeah, I totally taught you guys wrong. So I tried to correct that. But I warned you on the day before the test that there would be one of these and you need to study this. Okay. When I made the mistake, I basically was saying this was left skewed. That is not left skewed. Okay. What it means to be right skewed is that means it's going down to the right. Or if something was left skewed, if I had a left skewed dot plot, it would look like this, with a bunch of dots on this side, and then it'd be going down like that. That would be a left skewed. So I guess the way to remember it is, if it's right skewed, that means the data's on the more of the data is on the left of the diagram. If it were right or left skewed, then that means more of the data is on the right side of it. So this is absolutely going to be right skewed. It's clearly not symmetrical. Remember, symmetrical would look something like this. Okay, let's do this real quick. Symmetrical would, oh, those are too big. Symmetrical would be something like this, and you had a lot of dots kind of in the middle of it, and then it kind of tapered down on each side. That would be symmetrical. You kind of get that. If you cut it right there, it'd be like a mirror image of itself. Okay, so that would be symmetrical, and then right symmetrical, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure that might be something, but it's not. It doesn't pertain to us. So really, there were only 3 answers that it could have been. A lot of people chose C. Okay, so we've got to know that that is absolutely going to be right skewed on that. Okay. Here we have a box and whisker plot, or a box plot. And there's your plot. It's just asking which number, what is the median number of the pretzels? Well, you know that the median is just part of the 5-number summary. This is the 1 of the 5, this is the 2nd of the 5, the 3rd of the 5, the 4th of the 5, and the 5th of the 5-number summary. That's all it shows you. And if you know that if you know your 5-number summary, there's no reason you could have possibly missed this. You guys know this one is your minimum. You know this one is Q1, this one is Q2, this one is Q3, and we know this is your maximum, or your upper extreme. Remember, Q2, the other name for Q2 is median. That's where the line comes down through the box. That is where your median is going to be. So since my line's right there, I know that my median is going to be 54. Number 5, we have another box plot here. It's asking for the interquartile range. Now remember, that's different than regular range. The regular range of this would be 69 minus 45. Okay? This is not going to be that. This is the interquartile range. Remember, we talked about the fact that inter means inside the quartile. So we know this is a quartile and this is a quartile. We need to find the range inside the quartiles. That's what that word means when you break it down. Okay? So we know that we have to take, and you guys can all write this. Since this is now going to be your study guide, you're going to want to write this. The IQR, which is the interquartile range, is going to be your 3rd quartile minus your 1st quartile. So Q3 minus Q1. Okay? So then you just got to look at it and say, well, I know that Q3 is right there. That's 64. And I'm going to subtract my Q1, which is 49. And we're going to get an interquartile range of 15. Okay? At the bottom, I would like everybody to put what they got out of 5. If you got them all right, put 5 out of 5. If you got one wrong, put 4 out of 5, but put how many you got correct out of 5. All right, next page here. Number 6, don't mind how it's kind of goofy looking, how it's kind of all rounded like that. I don't know what happened. It looks like it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're talking about the mode. Now, I'm going to have you guys write what mode is here because, again, this is your study guide. This is the most occurring or the most often, however you guys remember it, most frequent. I hear it get taught by elementary teachers every which way, but it's just the number that occurred the most often. Now, once again, this is something, you didn't have to do this, but I just want you guys to see that this is kind of what this means. If it were in just written as a list, you would have 8, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 14. Okay, that is what it would be as a list, because I think this wasn't an option here, but I think a lot of you say, yep, if I ask you the mode and I wouldn't have given you these answers, a lot of you are still saying 4 because you're seeing 4 dots. But that's not what the question's, the 4 wasn't even on here. Okay, it wasn't even, 4 would be over here somewhere. There was no dots above it. It's not how many times it occurred, it's what occurred the most often. And clearly we can see that 8 occurred the most often, so the correct answer was letter A. All right, number 7. Okay, now this question kind of threw you guys off a little bit. The manager of an amusement park takes a survey to find out the ages of the people who ride a new ride. The results of the survey are shown in the histogram. Around what value or values does the data cluster? Okay. Now, there's really supposed to be a line kind of right through here, so I'm just going to kind of draw a line. Didn't copy very well, but you guys know that's two different. That's a histogram. So you can see, if we were just interpreting this histogram to begin with, was there very many people that were between ages of 11 and 16 that tried the new ride? No. There were only, it looks like, a few people. And then there was obviously one brave, or one or two brave older people that wanted to ride the ride here. Okay, usually older people don't ride roller coasters, so that makes sense why there was only one. So there's one or two people that decided to do it, but you know, we'll talk about what that's going to be here in a minute. But you can see the cluster is kind of right here, right? So when it's talking about a data cluster, like this one, it says the data cluster around the values of 11 to 22. That would be from here to here. Does it really cluster there? Meaning, do you have two big bars there? No. Okay. The data cluster around 23 to 34. Again, that would be saying from right there to right there. Is there a clustered amount of people? No, there's not. Okay. The cluster, as you can see, would be your two big bars here. You can see there's one bar there, and there's one bar there, right? And that's where your data cluster is going to be. So that's going to be from the age of 17 to 28. Okay, so that eliminates these because clearly there are no clusters happening there. So we have 17 to 28, and then we have to decide whether there is an outlier or there's not an outlier. Well, clearly, if this wasn't there, I would say there isn't an outlier. Okay, but since that's there, one 59 to 64-year-old absolutely would be an outlier there. So this would have to be letter D there. Okay, so we're just talking about the cluster is there a lot of people in two of the groups real close. Okay. All right, what is the range of the data? Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing here, but if you thought about it, that would be listed out as 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and 4, dot, dot, dot. Okay, so you just got to make sure that you're looking at it correctly and saying, okay, well, I know the smallest number there is 2. I know the biggest number is 11. Therefore, my range, which we know range is max minus min, which is going to give us 9. Okay? All right. Number 9. Now, this question was a little different than probably one you were ready for, but there's one big word in there that gives it away. The monthly rent for 5 apartments advertised in a newspaper were $670, $670, $790, $1,650, and $810. Use mean, median, and mode of the rents to answer the question. Which of those values gives the average rent? There's your key word right there. It makes it very, very obvious. No, you didn't have to calculate mean, median, and mode. You could, but it kind of gave it to you right there. You just had to figure out which value is average. Okay, the average. Is the average the median? Is it the mode? Is it the mean? That's just something you had to know. And from what I saw in the clickers, the majority of you thought you knew that average always means mean. Okay, remember, mean is the average. You can write this for a little something you can study from. Median, we already wrote this, but I'll write it again, is your middle number. And the mode is the most occurring, or most often, or most frequent, or most repeated. Okay? All right, number 10, finding the mean. Now, since you could use your calculator, there wasn't a lot of, there really no work you had to show me. You didn't have to show me the adding. I mean, you didn't have to do that. You could have just went in here and put plus signs between them, and you would have found that when you add all them together, it's 10, 17, 26, 56, 58, 62, 66, that's 80. And then, of course, you take 80. Now, remember, just that little trick that you guys, some of you are getting in trouble with. Some of you are still doing all these added together, and then at the end, you're doing, yep, and then I'm going to divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you do it like that. Remember, your calculator is going to do your division first because it knows PEMDAS. So it's going to divide 14 divided by 9 and get 1 point something, and then it's going to add it to all these numbers. You're going to get a huge number, probably in the 50s, 60s. That's not going to make much sense, okay?
Is this a client
still? So just keep in mind that whenever you do this, you have to find your sum first, meaning you need to add them all together. Now, once you have them added together, then you can go ahead and do 80 divided by 9. Okay? And I'll go ahead and do it here. And it's going to give you 8.88888, all those 8s and then a 9. Remember, the only reason that's 9 is because this calculator on my computer here only goes to so many digits. So what it does is it stops on the last one it can go to, and then of course it rounds up because we're talking about 8, 8, 8, and 8 tells 8 to round up to 9. Okay, so we're talking about 8.8 repeating, which we know I told you I gave you special instructions to make sure you round to the tenths, right? I said round to the tenths when you're doing this. So if you didn't round to the tenths, I'm going to count it wrong. The only answer I'm going to accept is 8.9. If you had 8.8, wrong. If you had 8.88, wrong. If you had 8.89, wrong. I gave you the instructions to do this. This is what I said to do. That is what you will do. So round to the tenths. The answer is 8 and 9 tenths. All right. Let's go on number 11, finding median. We know, as we've done several times now, the first thing you have to do is put them least to greatest. So we're going to do that. So that's 2, 4, 4, 4. So, and then, of course, I think you guys like to cross them off. I do too. 6, 7, 9 would be your next one. 6, 7, 9, and we'll cross them off just so we're keeping everything together here. And then we have 14, and we have 30. Okay. Now remember that little trick is just to go back and count to make sure you got them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That just tells me that I got them right. Now because I have 9 numbers, that should alert everybody that there's going to be one median. There's going to be one number directly in the middle here. So smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest. Boom, there's our median. Our middle number is 6. Okay, mode, remember mode is the most occurring. You can see that 4 occurs 3 times. None of the other numbers even occur more than once. So that is a pretty easy mode there. Consider the data set. I had a lot of people, this was another highly missed question here, and I'll show you why. Now, again, the thing I like to do whenever I get a dot plot like this, the first thing I like to do is just list them out. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and then guess what? A lot of you were doing this, and then of course you were adding it up. You were putting pluses in between all these. Pluses, 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 pluses. Everybody was doing this, thinking they were getting it correct, and then they're like, Mr. Garrison, you told me that we don't have to round on this one, and I'm getting a repeating decimal. Well, guess what you forgot? You forgot 18. Yes, it's an outlier. It does not matter. We still have to include it into the mean, even though we would probably, if we were trying to find those measures of center that we've talked about, like what a true center would be, we wouldn't want the mean, because that 18 is going to make this mean look higher than it really is, the average. We would use the median here. But that, regardless, I asked you to find the mean. Okay, so we're going to add those up. When you add all those up, you're going to get 54. Okay, now we're going to divide by however many there are, numbers or dots, however you want to think about it, and there are 12 total, and when you do that, you end up getting 4 and 5 tenths. Okay, that page is going to be out of 8. Please put how many points you got out of 8 at the bottom, and then flip to the next page. All right, number 14, kind of same old here. I mean, we did a bunch of these. This is the same dot plot. Realistically, if I would have kept my stuff on the previous page, actually I might have, we could probably just go down and steal what we had here. Maybe. There we go. Since we already did it once, why not just use it again? Or not. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. So now we'll just go ahead and do it right here, I guess. Cross off the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest. I think we had one in the middle. No, we should have 2 3s in the middle. That 3 and that 3. And then we end up drawing a line between. Of course, you add them up. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. So your median there is 3. No, you did not have to do that. You did not have to list them out like that. Remember, it's pretty easy to find median when you have a dot plot like this. Remember, you cross off smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, and then you can see we had 2 3s in the middle, which means 3 is our median. Okay? So you could have done it either way there. I'm just trying to give you multiple ways, and if nothing else, do both ways. Okay? Number 15, which this is where it got all messed up when you guys had to make all those corrections. That was actually 17 restaurant orders. This was supposed to be number 15, number 16, number 17, number 18, number 19, and 20 and 21 down here. Okay? The nice thing that I did for you is I put them least to greatest for you to begin with. I probably shouldn't have done that. Kind of made it too easy, because then you just look and say, well, the minimum is 7. By the way, each one of these is worth 1 point, so it's just like regular questions. Minimum and maximum, 7 and 18. We'll go ahead and fill in upper extreme, which is your maximum, and lower extreme, your minimum. Okay. Now we've got to go through and we've got to find the quartiles, all 3 quartiles. Now, as you guys remember, it's impossible to find these 2 before you find this. So that should be where you start. So we're going to start there by finding our median. Now remember, I said there's a bunch of numbers here. You don't have to go small, big, small, big. Since there's a bunch, it's okay with me if you went ahead and go like, and I'm going to try to do this a little different this time. I'm going to try to use a highlighter so it's not so, I can still see my number. So if you want to do like 5 at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe do 3 this time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and bang, we actually worked out perfect for me. We actually had one number directly in the middle right there, which is 13. Okay, so that's going to be our median. Okay, now remember, the lower quartile, or the Q1, that is just the median of the first half of the number. So if the real median is halfway between, so it's directly halfway between your numbers, then the quartile 1, it's like getting out scissors, and imagine just like cutting it right there and saying, okay, what's the median of this side? That's your Q1. What's the median of this side? That's your Q3. Okay, so that's all we do here. So let me grab a different color here. We'll do the highlighters, same way I did it. So we're going to cross off the smallest. Now remember, I said it's nice to do like X's. Like you did your yellow cross one way, I'll do my blue in this way. So 1, 2, or smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest. Only this time you can see we have 2 numbers in the middle, right? So we have to draw a line. We have to add them up. That's 19 divided by 2 is going to give us 9.5. 9.5. Okay? That's our quartile 1. Just like we would find median, we had 2 in the middle, so we're going to add them up and divide by 2. Do the same thing over here. Smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest. We have 2 numbers in the middle there. We add them up. 15 plus 16 is 31. 31 divided by 2 is going to give me 15.5. And those right there are my quartile 1 and 3. So they're all 3 just medians. That's all they are. It's just the true median is halfway through the entire list. And I mean, really, this is a fourth of the way through, this one, a quarter or 25% of the way through, 1/4 of the way through. This is halfway through, and this is 75% or 3/4 of the way through. So that's all it is. Okay? So now we'll go down here, and we've got to find the interquartile range. As I said earlier, that's just this minus this, right? It's the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, and that is going to give us an interquartile range of 6. Okay? Now number 21, remember everybody got it right in their clickers because we, I told you to put 0 in, but you had to draw it. Okay, so this is worth 1 point, and yours needs to match mine. This is just your 5-number summary here, so we're going to put our dots. We're going to put a dot on 0 because that's our minimum. We're going to put a dot on, we're going to do, our next dot's going to be, we're going to go right in order. Remember, when you're doing this, I mean, that's like the easiest way to do it. I mean, just go right in order. So if my quartile 1 was 9.5, that's going to be halfway between 9 and 10. Okay, my median is the next one. That was 13, so I'm going to put a dot right on 13. Okay, then I'm going to go to my upper quartile, or my Q3, and put 15.5. So halfway between 15 and 16. And then finally, I have to put my maximum on there, which is 18. And there we go. there's my 5 points. That's my 5 number summary. Now all we're going to do is we are going to we're going to put a box around here like so. Good enough. It's not perfect, but it'll do the job. Okay, and there we go. Last thing we need to do is, of course, we need to always draw a line down through our median, and it's a little bit thick, so I'm going to fix it and make it more neat. Put a line down through our median here. Good enough. And then, of course, we need to attach our whiskers, right? Attach the whiskers. So then you have your true 5 number summary. Remember I said that every one of these sections is representing 25%, 25%, 25%, and that's what a box and whisker plot looks like. Okay? So yeah, you had to have the whiskers drawn on there. You had to have the points. I have people that are just like putting, like this one, they just kind of draw it like that. They don't even, like, it has to be connected. It has to look identical to mine. If you didn't do everything that I did, it's wrong. Okay? Let's go to the next one. We had 2 histogram questions on here. This was the second of the 2. The histogram shows the number of digital music files each student in a class has on a computer or an electronic player. You just had to answer the question, how many students have between 100 and 299 digital music files? So we're talking about everybody in this bar right here, because they have from 100 to 199, and then we're talking about everybody in this bar also. Okay, that's all it is. It was a pretty easy histogram question. Okay, so I know that, okay, well, there are 12 there, there are 9 there, so that means there were a total of 12 and not 12 there, 9 there, so that's 21 total people had between that many files on their computer or electronic device. Okay. This page is out of 9, so go ahead and put how many points you got out of 9, and then we'll go to the back, finish it up. This one was pretty. I guess there were 3 histogram questions. This one was relatively easy. I think you guys all, from what I saw in the clickers, everybody pretty much got this one correct. You just had to. I mean, it was broken into intervals, so you see like B, they don't even have intervals there, so that should have immediately, or maybe that's C. Yeah, I think that's C. Let me see. Yeah, that's C. Sorry. So letter C there's no intervals even there. That can't be a histogram then. Okay, same with this one. I mean, I hope nobody put C or D. Hopefully you know, looking back to every histogram we've ever done, remember they're going to represent intervals on the x-axis, not just single numbers or categories of any kind. So now it was all about just figuring out, well, okay, which one was correct. So here it says from 0 to 9 sit-ups here, there were 10 students that did from 0 to 9. So I can see, well, I have 10 there. How many do I have here? There are 10. So as far as the first column goes there, both histograms are good. Okay, so let's go to the next one. These are the 8 students were able to do between 10 and 19 sit-ups in a minute. So I see that goes to 8. I see that goes to 8. So again, so far, A and B are both correct. Now between 20 and 29 sit-ups. Okay, so it says 9 people. I can see right there. Yeah, that goes to 9. Yep, that one goes to 9. Okay, and then so that means they're still good up to this point. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. You guys are probably like throwing stuff at the screen. Sorry. Okay. You can see this one actually has the same frequency in all of them. So I think this is 6, and then this was 2. So it looks the same. It even tricked me. I was I'm the one that made the test. So anyway, you can see the clear problem here is here. This is your number from 0 to 9. That's from 0 to 9. That's 10 to 19, 20. This one goes completely backwards. I mean, we've never ever numbered a number line like this and said, yep, I'm just going to start at 10 and go this way. Like, that would be incorrect. I would count that wrong when we did that back in chapter 2. So that is absolutely incorrect because they started with the bigger numbers first. Plus, there weren't 10 people that did 40 plus sit-ups in a minute. So it's all backwards. Clearly, the correct answer is A. The back page is worth 1, and as I said, That means the entire thing is out of 23. Please put what you got out of 23 at the top of your paper, and make sure your name's on it. Make sure your name's on it. And hope you guys all hope it makes more sense now. See ya.